All right, thank you, and welcome to the Lion's Share, where we talk family, faith, football, finance, and fun. And today's guest, we're proud to have a former member of the Buffalo Bills, Atlanta Falcons, Indianapolis Colts, a guy that is well known in football circles, was a legend at Alabama, and we'd like to welcome to the show Cornelius Biscuit Bennett. Cornelius, welcome.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. Thanks for having
So
me on.
yeah, no, it's great, man. It's that time of year, the footballs are flying, and it's great. I love to have a few NFL guys on and tell some stories and whatnot. And you've got many stories to tell. 14 years in the NFL. I like to say I beat the odds. I doubled the average with 7 years before I finally got the second knee blown out. But you doubled me, man, which is unbelievable, especially playing the position you played. Linebacker running around. And I had the good fortune of playing with you my last year in Atlanta, '96. I think was your first year in Atlanta, coming from Buffalo. And there was just some guys in the NFL that I always say I was never a great athlete. I fooled them as long as I could to stay in the league, but some guys just stood out from the rest. And you were one of them, my friend. You just were a freak athlete and certainly had a heck of a career. And three-time All-American in Alabama. I mean, second overall pick. We had another second overall pick a couple weeks ago. Tony Mandrich was on, so I'm covering the 80 second overall picks. So I'll have to look at the roster, see who else is on there that 10-year period. But just kind of read off some of your stats here, Cornelius, because they're pretty impressive. I mean, 206 career games. I mean, pretty healthy, pretty resilient. Three-time All-Pro, five Pro Bowls. So you weren't doing it with smoke and mirrors, man. You were the real deal, obviously, and in consideration for the Hall of Fame, and I'll ask you some questions on that. But I guess for the fans out there, Cornelius, what number one people want to know? I know because I read it online. I never really know how you got the name Biscuit, but I guess tell the listeners how you were given the name Biscuit for those of the folks that don't know that.
You see this big dome right here? That's Biscuit Head.
Biscuit head. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I read that you always had room for one more biscuit, so
No,
that
well,
that too.
that's just like the big fish story. Every time someone asks, the story just continues to grow. But really, it's from sitting around as a grade school kid cracking jokes on one another, man. And
Funny,
somebody called me Biscuit Head,
and it stuck.
and that stuck with me. The part about the one more biscuit, there's some truth to it. Mom used to cook, big breakfast on the weekend. I grew up in a big family, five brothers and sisters. So, and mom would cook, but I would eat the last biscuit because one or two be left on the stove, and I'll get some syrup and sop the biscuits with the syrup. So, but that's not how I got the nickname. I got it from Biscuit Head.
Hey, if you have that many kids at the dinner table, you're just trying to get any biscuit you can get.
Yes.
Give you something. I only had one brother, man. I still have a scar on my hand where he forked me one time for trying to reach on his plate. So I learned my lesson. But well, that's cool. But so yeah, so let's go back to your high school days in Alabama. Obviously a great athlete coming out of there, and you get recruited by Alabama, and obviously a pretty darn good career there, I guess. Going back then, that seems like a lot of years ago now, I'm sure, because I did the math when I was talking to Tony, and 30 some years ago, and which seems crazy. But tell us a little bit about your time at Bama and just kind of some of the thoughts you have looking back on that time in your life.
Well, so funny story to me it is. I had actually committed to Auburn during my junior season of high school football, and my mom said, "No way, you're going to Auburn," because Bo Jackson was at Auburn, and I had just moved to running back. Being the athlete that I was. New coach at my high school decided that I'm going to put my best athlete, put the ball in his hands, and as much as I can. So moved me to running back, and I started being recruited, highly recruited. And Auburn came in, and of course they had this guy named Bo Jackson there, and Pat Dye, yeah, said, wow, what a backfield I can have with you two guys. I'm not understanding that he was just giving me a sales pitch because I was a big kid, bigger than Bo coming out of high school, and of course, that made me think a little bit. And of course, I committed without even consulting my mom and dad at the time. But mom said no, and I ended up at Alabama. And Ray Perkins came in as the head coach after being recruited by Coach Bryant and decided that he saw something different in me than a running back. And that was a linebacker, outside linebacker, as a matter of fact, because he had just drafted Lawrence Taylor a couple of years earlier during his stint as the head coach with the Giants. And he saw the same kind of athletic ability and decided, let's try linebacker first. If it didn't work out, we'll move you to tight end. If not tight end, then we'll shoot at running back. quite possibly. But um, first day of practice and outside linebacker without a pad on, I don't know, maybe it was another good sales pitch that, hey, I see some similarities in you and Lawrence Taylor. What do you think? And I told him, hey, let's try it. And the rest is history, Mitch. I mean, what a insightful person he was to see that in
Yeah.
me, and grateful that he did, because I never really wanted to play running back.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, man, to even be, that's pretty heady stuff as a young kid. People telling you
Yes.
you're going to go and be in the same backfield with Bo Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was a
Or
younger.
that, hey, we want to move you because you remind me a lot of LT. I mean, come on.
Yeah. That's pretty good company. But I was a young, I was a young junior. I graduated high school at 17 and turned 18 until I got on campus in college. So, of course, immature, and of course, again, the sales pitch was a great, because I had watched Bo and really didn't know much about Lawrence Taylor at all when I got to Alabama. But again, the recruiting sales pitches are great, and I'm grateful for my mom having the insight to see different and see through it, because I think I made the best decision.
So Mama had some wisdom she shared here. So I guess tell us in your big family. Tell us a little bit about that. I reached out to you, Cornelius, because
Mhm.
I see your post every Sunday on LinkedIn, talking about usually sharing a Bible verse and always saying Happy Sunday, which I love. So that's kind of why I
Mhm.
reached out to you. What caused me to reach out to you. But so give me a little background on just growing up. And where's that faith come from?
Mom and dad and
Yeah,
grandparents, and
right from the
we
get-go.
grew up. So yes, grew up. I've always had ministers and pastors close to my family, almost like family to this day. Grew up in walking distance to a church, two churches. I wouldn't say to a church, particular church. My grandparents' church and our church that I was a member of growing up. And again, they've always been close to my family. Always at any function that we had, there was always the pastor at the function, and so that was instilled in me from day one. Even when I went off to college, I would find my way, no matter how much partying I did on Saturday night. I would find my way in church on Sundays. So it's just always been there. We kind of get away from it at some points in our lives or whatever. At least I did or whatever. But I found myself right back where I started from, on my knees praying to God, and asking for the infinite wisdom that He can provide. And in the early teens here, I just became even more and more in tune with my faith. Um, and it just one day I said, I'm going to start sharing, because I felt the need. I felt there was somebody out there like me that had been lost.
Yeah.
That if I could touch them, because someone touched me, someone reached out to me and touched me, and not physically, but just through their sharing of their faith. And so I said, why not me? I have this huge platform, and I was kind of new to Twitter when I first started. Every now and again I would post a little something or whatever, and it just grew on me. So then, of course, LinkedIn happened, and with me as well. And I said, okay, try to do this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Not only did it, I feel like it has helped others, but it's helped me as well, because if I'm going to do it every day, that means I got to be in the Word every day.
You got to live it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta be one who's posting this, and not be ashamed of it, and not be concerned about what people would say about me doing it. Yes, I put on a suit and tie on Sundays or whatever, but that's me getting ready to go to church. I'm not doing it for a fashion show. I'm doing it because that's what I do first thing in the morning. Every morning, I'm in the Word before I do.
It's not NFL Sunday walk into the locker room.
No, no, no. It's
It's
me
church.
preparing. Yeah, it's me preparing for church. But before that, I've already started my day with the Word. My family know that my day does not start without me waking up in the Word first, and then we can proceed with the day. So the suit part of it, just I think, was another way for me to help spread the word, because I do get the comments on the clothing or whatever,
Yeah.
which is cool, because I like to dress up. I've always been, one of those kind of guys. But if it helps share the word, then so be it, because I want the word. I post my Bible verse first, and then I'll post my picture of me, with the clothing on or whatever. But whatever it takes for me to share, that's what I try to do.
So looking back on this, you were raised in the church.
Mhm.
You mentioned having some times in your life, and maybe you just strayed away a little bit, weren't as committed. What prompted you? I mean, as you went through those times, and I kind of, from my own life, I see it kind of like a roller coaster at times, right? When you're
Mhm.
more in the Word, I always relate it to working out from the same standpoint that we've been out of the Word for a while, and then all of a sudden you get up and you get in the Word for a day and you're like, man, why did I ever feel so good? Why did I ever stop? Right. And it's kind of like working out. You don't get in the gym for a month, and the next thing you know, you go in and you're like, feel a little sore, and like, it feels good. I want to keep doing it. Well, so
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
you say early teens, but I mean, when did you really just say, all right, man, you've been, solid? Was it NFL days, after NFL days,
No,
or
it's after. I really can't really pinpoint why I, strayed away. And I think a lot of people are like that. It's just,
yeah.
it's been life.
Right.
Got busy doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or what have you. And we moved down here to South Florida full time. We had a home in Atlanta, home here, and I think once my kids got into high school and their sports or whatever, I found myself with more and more me time and not trying to do things for other people or whatever. I think I just was too busy. And when I first retired from football, I got very active with our Players Association, which I'm grateful for because I've seen the benefits and I get the thank yous from former players who through the programs that I've helped created through our union. When they come up and tell me, man, you don't know how much I appreciate the things that you did when you were, when you were doing your thing with the union. And I did it, and I did it then, not thinking about this is what God had for me because I did it as a volunteer. I had a chance to take a job with our union, but I didn't want to leave my family.
Hmm.
God had provided for me financially to where, hey, if you're going to serve, this is how I want you to serve. And one thing led to another, and it was 15 years before I knew uh, that I had been doing that for 15 straight years. So, and then I decided, well, God helped me to decide. I won't say I did, because I'm always trying to be a team player. So I won't say that I decided, but God put it on me to say, okay, it's enough for this. You have a home here, you have family here, you have a church here. This is the path I'm going to take you. I'm going to put you in the church as a deacon. I'm gonna do what the Bible. I'm gonna make you a true servant. And I was like, oh God, not me. I mean, I wrestled with it for briefly because the people, the elders in the church are watching you, and oh, we see you with your family, and every time we have something going on, your family, you and your family here, you're serving in your person and you're serving financially. What do you think about becoming a deacon? Ah, it's like what? Okay, let me pray. Let me talk to my wife, and here we are since 2019, man. I've been a deacon in the church, and I love it so much, man. That the
That's awesome.
gratification, yeah, the gratification is so much greater than anything I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're stepping out there and recognize the fact that hey, maybe it's just a tweet, maybe it's just a post on LinkedIn, but you never know when you're hitting somebody at the right
Mhm.
time that man, just something that you say resonates with them or a verse you put out there that might just hit them at the right time. And I think back on my walk because I didn't believe in Christ till I was a rookie in the NFL and 1993 in Atlanta and Harper LaBelle, the long snapper.
Yeah.
He was always dripping on me. Hey, you want to go to chapel? Want to go to chapel? And I was like, no, 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 no. And then we were out in LA playing the Rams, and I happened to come back to our room, and Harper had a book laying on his bag. He wasn't in the room, but it was answers to tough questions skeptics ask about the Christian faith by Josh
Hmm.
McDowell. And I just kind of picked it up, started thumbing through it, and a lot of the questions were questions I had. And Harper, he gets up the next morning to go to chapel, and he didn't bother to ask me because he'd ask me every day, and I always said no. I got up, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to go to chapel." He said, "Oh, okay." So, but Harper's tripping, and I was peppering him with questions all season, right?
Hmm.
And I still remember the minister it was an inner city minister from Los Angeles, and he was a little bit fire and brimstone, but talking about there's black and white, there's no in between. You either believe or you don't. There's heaven, there's hell, and it got me thinking, man. And then Darnell Walker, who was our
Darnell, yes.
DB.
Yeah.
Darnell was in the seat behind me. He was doing a Bible study with David Mims, who was a free agent rookie wide receiver who had made the team. And I remember Darnell talking to David and you know talking about the gospel. And I just remember thinking, Lord, I don't know what Darnell has, but I know I need it. And that's I prayed on that plane by myself, just to ask God into my heart, Christ into my heart. And but the important thing was there were so many people before you know, Darnell and Harper, but people that dripped on me. Maybe it was just one comment, but I remember it to this day, right? So that's what's
Mhm.
important, man. The difference you can make in somebody's life. You know, you never know. You might be you might be water in that seed. It's not gonna you're not guaranteed to sprout. God doesn't ask you to make the seed sprout, right?
Right.
He just says keep watering it, right, and keep dripping on it, and so that's cool. So I commend you for that, and I'm glad you're doing that, man.
Thank you so much. And I look back on my journey, and it was always there. I just never realized it because I'm an old man now. And in high school, there was three teammates, myself and two others, that participated in FCA. And someone sent a picture of my old yearbook from high school, and you thumb through it, and there's a picture of me and my two teammates and Keith Pugh, who played football at the University of Alabama, who's a pastor now, who's been preaching for God knows how long, and
Yep.
and and the three of us and Keith, the FCA club, and never like again, And then when I got to college, of course, as I said earlier about, I would find my way to church. In the NFL, I always went to chapel service. Um, So it was always there. And I can't say I was running. I like to say life just was lifing at the time kind of thing or whatever, but it's always, always, always been there. And
Yeah.
just, and I just had my moment, like you had with Harper. We were playing my first year in Atlanta. We were playing preseason in Carolina at chapel service with our chaplain there. And it just dawned on me today is the day, and I don't know if I asked to pray the sinner's prayer or whatever, but it was the prayer, and I asked God to come into my life, and it just started again, So I'm so thankful that God just is a God of
Yeah.
forgiveness and a God of chances. You know what I'm saying, man? It's just
Sure.
and so from that day forth, and just continue to grow, even again and even in the shadow of doubt, and it's always there, and I know I can call on it, and He's there.
Yeah.
He's there. I have no doubt.
Yep.
Um, so it's I never. And so my whole thing with me is, Mitch, I learned to try to never doubt God, good, bad, and different, that's going on in my life. I never allow myself to doubt God.
Yeah.
That's one thing I prayed to my mom on my knees one night, and in the midst of whatever turmoil I was in at the particular time, that I would never doubt God's word. I would never doubt it.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Mm.
Yeah, and you're blessed that you had that
Mm.
foundation growing up, right? I just
Yes.
that wasn't something that was in our house, so I didn't have that. So when I did when I did find it, it was like, man, and then I was a sponge, right? And I'm peppering and reading, and Harper probably got sick of me asking questions. So I remember when the whole thing about tithing came up. I always remember this line because I asked Harper, you know, because here I was, I was never the bonus baby like you were, man, but. Making 100 grand my first year in Atlanta, you know, and maybe with another $35,000 signing bonus.
Right, right,
But I
right.
remember asking Harper, I go, hey, should you tithe on your gross or on your net? I'll never forget what he said. He goes, I don't know. Do you want to be blessed? Do you want the gross blessing or the net blessing? And that always stuck to me. And I was like, okay, yep, all right, I get it. I'll take the gross blessing. Well, that's cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. I wanted to
Um,
hit that because that again, like I said, that stuck out to me as I've been following you on LinkedIn and stuff. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you. You're welcome, brother.
All right. So then you go from Alabama. You're the second pick. You win Lombardi Trophy, SEC Player of the Year. You're Mr. Everything, three-time All-American. I think at that point, or maybe still, I don't know. That's only three-time All-American in Alabama.
That's It's two of us,
Two of you.
Woodrow Lowe and I.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You
There's
had
only two.
you had some talent down there. You were a couple years ahead of Derek Thomas.
Yeah, he was my understudy.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
Instead of the coach, so I always get at my God bless his soul. He's passed on now. Coach
right.
Perkins, Ray Perkins, who saw Lawrence Taylor and me. I don't know why he didn't see Cornelius Bennett, Lawrence Taylor, and Derek Thomas the way uh, uh, um, Bill Curry did after, because Coach Perkins left and Bill Curry came in and just let Derek Thomas, turn them loose or what
Yeah.
have you. And
You go catch him.
why, yeah, why he didn't put Derek Thomas and I on the field more together. Me on one side, Derek on the other side.
Right. I won't want to
Beyond
be. I
me.
won't want to be that QB.
You know what I'm saying? It's beyond me because um, when I left and the next year, he couldn't have been that far.
Right.
The greatness that he presented,
Yeah.
his last 2 years when I was there. So I
Right.
don't know what the coaches, why they didn't.
Yeah.
But what a bad mistake, because we probably could have won a national championship or two with the both of us on the field at the same
Yeah.
time.
Well, his paths crossed mine at a kind of a key point in my life too. So I'm playing for the Steelers. In my last game, I blew my knee out. Mark Bruner had broken his ankle early in the game, so I was always Mark's backup. Second tight end at Pittsburgh with the bus slamming the ball up the middle. But so I played that whole game, and I was going against Derek, and then blew my knee out the last game of the year, and I knew it was ACL, MCL, PCL. I knew that was the end of the road for me. So I'm sitting on my couch a few weeks later, feeling sorry for myself, and I see the headline come across that Derek had been in a car accident and died
Yes.
a couple of weeks later. Right?
Mm.
I mean, talk about a slap in the face. Here I was feeling sorry for myself, and it was a quick dose of perspective on life, right? And the fragility of it, and all of a sudden having a bum knee wasn't so bad anymore. So that
Yeah.
was a good eye opener for me. But so anyway, you get drafted, and I forgot this actually till I googled your background again. But I forgot you were drafted by the Colts, and when part of one of the biggest draft or trades in draft history, or not during the draft, but post a couple months later into the season actually, which I'd forgotten. But
Mhm.
Rams, Colts, and Bills, kind of the mega trade, and the two big pieces in it were obviously you and then Eric Dickerson, who's fairly well known running back at the time. He was a pretty big deal. So I would say the Bills got the best of that. Dickerson obviously was great, but he wasn't as great for the Colts as he probably had been, and then certainly you had a heck of a career in Buffalo. Um, so I guess when you think back, and then obviously you played in Buffalo, you a few years in Atlanta, and then you finished back with the Colts. So what was that like going back to the Colts after you kind of shunned them, after the draft when you originally went there? Was there, I mean, at that point, a lot of time had elapsed, so but
Mhm.
I'm sure hard feelings maybe had healed by then. But what was that like going back to the Colts at that point in your career?
Well, I didn't shun them; they shunned me. They didn't want to pay me. They drafted
Well,
me.
no, I get
I know. I'm just.
it.
Uh,
You couldn't come to mutual agreement, however you
yeah,
want to
I
say that.
mean, it was never that I didn't want to play there
Yeah,
until I
you didn't pull a Eli
didn't.
Manning.
Yeah, until I didn't. And they tried to turn it into that because they was trying to take the onus off of themselves with that. But
Sure.
and that's why I was able to, with a clear conscience, go back there. You know, um, 13 years later. But it was crazy. It was very crazy because I had gone up there 4 different times to sign, and every time I would get there, they would pull the deal off the table. But then, the trade happened to Buffalo, and again, without me even considering Buffalo, because we had no say so in where back then we didn't have free agency, so I had to go where they traded me, and that was Buffalo. I had no idea that I would get there and play with some of the best men in the world and on some of the best teams to ever step foot on the football field. So um, it was a great time for me. And Dick and Eric Dickerson and I became cool after that because we were kind of attached at the hip with that trade. And there is something so crazy. I just told a speech about this past week, and not a speech, but a little story about that. I had a chance to play in 4 Super Bowls with Buffalo and another one with Atlanta, but the the year that we played the Super Bowl in Atlanta was the year Eric Dickerson got elected to the Hall of Fame. And I happened to see him and congratulate him. And he's like, yeah, but man, what if, you had a chance. This is 5 Super Bowls for you. And he never sniffed one. Those kind of things or whatever. But so you never know. Again, my whole thing was what I learned from it. what I try to tell people is because I could have like I don't want to go to Buffalo. It's cold. You know how guys and you mentioned Eli having the power to say I don't want to go. This kind of thing. I felt I had the same kind of power, but back then didn't realize, and I'm happy I didn't because I would have been disobedient. My
Mm.
life now is about trying to be as obedient as possible to God's will and not mine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if trying to go there, but that's the lesson I learned from that
No,
because
that's awesome.
yeah,
That's why that's yeah, that's great.
yeah,
Thanks.
I held out. I held out half of my rookie season. I lost 8 games of my
Yeah.
career, although the strike helped with the mental part of it. But I lost half of my rookie year to holding out. I got traded Halloween Day. That trade happened Halloween Day of 1987.
That's right. That was the strike year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember back then I was about a sophomore. Well, I would have been my junior year in high school, and I remember I used to
That
clean one of
makes the
my
whole.
couch. One of my coaches. I remember cleaning his mom's house every Saturday. She was elderly, and I would make a few bucks. He'd pay me to go clean
Mhm.
her house for her. But I remember watching strike football on TV.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
scab players, playing during the strike season. But anyway, so all right, well let's go back to Buffalo because obviously your career is definitely you're thought of as a Buffalo Bill, and I'm guessing you think
Right.
of yourself as a Buffalo Bill above all else, even though you had obviously a great year in '98 in Atlanta. Too bad you couldn't have had that before I left, but what am I going to do? But
I tried. I tried.
well, so yeah, so you go to Buffalo, and yeah, obviously you guys had an unbelievable run, and good, bad, or indifferent, you guys are known for losing four straight Super Bowls, which I always, those the documentary that came out about those teams, I thought was
Mhm.
great, right? I thought that was really well done. But I mean, what people don't, I think the average fan loses, man, is the sight of the fact of how dang hard it is to even get that far once, much less four. And obviously, I mean, you guys were closest to winning in the first one, and but you have you in particular because you went to Atlanta and then lost the one with Atlanta. I believe to this day you're one of only two guys to play in and lose all five Super Bowls, which is unbelievable, man. Like, come on, God, why can't I get one, right? But like you said, he's got a plan, and I don't know what that plan was, man. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I mean, Biscuit, that you were so blessed to, I mean, play in
Yes.
five Super Bowls. Like I never sniffed one. I mean, most, low percentage of guys do get there, and you got there five times, and yeah, you never won it. But man, looking back on your career to, when you talk about, I mean, you made the all '90s NFL Hall of Fame '90s All Decade team. You're in
Mhm.
five of the Super Bowls of that decade. I mean, that's unbelievable when you think about that.
It truly is, and when I tell you when it hit me, the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl, and I sitting there, I was like, man, I played in 5 of those 50.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That really hit home. That really hit home to me. I said, man, it's been 50 Super Bowls, and I played in 5 of them.
yeah,
It's um, and playing 14 years. I mean, I think I only missed the playoff, but maybe I think 3 times in my 14 years, I think. And so just to look at how many guys,
yeah,
I mean, I'm very, very fortunate. And not I wasn't on the team. I played, I was a starter. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So
yeah.
big to do, not just hey, some get guys that win Super Bowl rings and next year you see them, they didn't play or this and that. But I played, I actually played in
Uh,
5 Super
and
Bowls.
thinking back on that, talking about
Mhm.
guys that played a long time, never made it. I mean, one of our teammates in '96 on the Falcons, Clay Matthews, right? I mean, played
Yeah,
19 years
yeah,
in the NFL.
yeah,
I think he
yeah,
went to the AFC Championship three times with the Browns.
yeah,
Never got
yeah,
over the hump.
yeah.
Uh, and I mean, you two guys, I mean, Clay, 19 years playing outside backer. And I talked to him recently, and I'm trying to get him on this show, but he's too shy. I got to get him out of his shell
That's
to come
play,
on.
right?
I'm gonna have to show him this one so he knows I won't beat him up. But yeah,
When you
he
talk to him, you tell him I said hello.
I will, because I'm going to
Yeah.
beat him up till he gets on the show, because he's got some stories to tell, man. He can tell stories from the early '70s, and for crying out
Right,
loud, he's
right,
telling
right,
them. So,
right.
but here's a guy. I mean, you two. I mean, 14 years, 19 years that playing the positions you guys did. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, you see some kickers and stuff or punters playing that long, but not guys that are running around, knocking heads off and banging helmets as long as you guys did. Which leads me to my next question. Obviously, there's been a lot about, concussion, and obviously you played one of the positions that, obviously a high prevalence of collisions. Uh, and I know quite a few years ago you mentioned you're going to donate your brain to
Hmm.
CTE study. how's your health now? How's your head? I mean, how you feeling?
My brother, I again, it's nothing but God. I am without having to go to the gym or anything or wait. God just wakes me up every day, man, and I'm good. This is, I have some minor pains of whatever. If I sleep bad or something, a shoulder
Yeah.
might hurt, something like that. But man, I've been so blessed. I had my knee, my left knee fixed. I went for 20 years without getting my knee fixed. I hurt my knee in '98 in Buffalo. I mean in Atlanta. Came back and played all of '99. Week 16 of '99, my first year in Indianapolis. First play of the game, my first time going back to Buffalo. First play of the game, I got hit in the same knee. Um, Tore it up again, ACL, MCL, PCL. This is God's
Oh
honest.
man.
Came back my last year, year 14, played. I started all but one game with
Wow.
MCL, PCL, and ACL torn. No, that's mean there's nothing but
You're
God.
making me look bad because I always tell everybody that's a career-ending injury. Come
Yeah,
on.
listen, a bunch of tape and the technology with the knee brace, the knee brace and the Dunjor knee brace I wore my last year, and I got 14 in, but then the knee it never swelled up, it never hurt. So in 2019, in June of 2019, it's coming. I got a spiral staircase in my house, and the last three steps are at the bottom. It finally gave out, and I fell and hit my head on my front door.
Hmm.
And I told my wife, I'm calling the doctor tomorrow. This is a sign for me to go ahead and get this knee done. Because I mean, it was weak, but I functioned with it. I mean, I played golf on it, I did everything, and it never was swell up. So I finally got it fixed. That was the second surgery I ever had in football. '96, I tore labrum in my left shoulder. Coming to Atlanta, matter of fact, but before I signed with Atlanta. And my whole career, I never broken a bone, twisted my ankle or anything. And my last year, I broke a small bone in my hand. So I was
Yeah.
uh, so blessed to extend my career that way or whatever. But and it was just me waking up in the morning. Like now, God wakes me up in the morning when I do my yearly physicals. The doctor, who's always amazed at how fit I am, and I was like, it's like, what do you do? I said, I do a little walking, mostly golf or whatever, but. I mean, this is me. I'm my playing weight. I'm probably a little bit under my playing weight, but I just wake up in the morning and say read my word, and
Just
I'm
keep
ready to
doing what
go.
you're doing, it sounds like, man. Don't
Yeah,
upset the apple cart.
I know, right? But I wasn't much of a guy that, believe it or not, my 14 years in the league, I got away from lifting weights and just started using my body weight. And I just, I'm not gonna sit and tell a story like Herschel Walker. He never lift weights. I did lift weights until I got in the league, and I just got tired of lifting. How that whole routine just was never for me. Now I was a running guy. I my speed plus my natural strength was that was my forte. Being able to run with the best of them, and that's what I did. I trained like a track athlete more than anything, and it carried me through my 14 years, and till this day. Like I said, I can't take the credit for it. I'll be lying, man, to you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
say
I mean,
that's
yeah,
your doc.
you're the exception, not the rule. I
Yeah,
mean, 'cause
yeah,
first of all, most guys don't play 14 years, and the ones that
yeah,
do probably are banged up a little bit. And Clay's
yeah.
another example. I mean, how you doing, Clay? Oh yeah, his wife's got more issues. She got some knee injury or knee issues, and he goes, yeah, she says it's because from carrying the family around all these years. But yeah, so he's healthy as can be too. So it's amazing doing what you're doing. But you
Yeah.
mentioned your first play back in Buffalo, and I'll tell you a quick story. My first play in the NFL was a preseason game, my rookie year, 1993, the Falcons. Jerry Glanville's the coach, and we're going to play the Buffalo Bills, who are coming off three straight Super Bowls, and just so happens, Jerry's been the run and shoot coach, and he drafts me in the sixth round because he wants to start using a tight end. June Jones is his offensive coordinator. June Jones doesn't want to start using a tight end. So I
Right.
think Jerry started with the blue package, three wideouts, one tight end on the first play of that game, just because he wanted to prove a point. So out comes number 86, rookie Mitch Lyons, and he lines up on the left side. We're running a ball over to the right, and I line up across from number 78, Bruce Smith. And Bruce doesn't want to be out there. His nostrils are just
Right, right.
breathing like a bull. And I'm looking at his arm, which is the vein in his arm is the size of my bicep, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get a good jump on him and cut him off on the backside here, and set hut, and I take off, and I realized it wasn't supposed to be on one, it was supposed to be on the second hut. So now it's 1st and 15. Mitch Lyons is off the field, and the run and shoot offense comes back on. But the other thing, so there's my triumphant entry into the NFL. But the other thing I remember from that game is Daryl Talley on the other side. I'm playing blocking on a couple reach plays in the first quarter, and the whole time during the play, he's like, "You're good, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good." He just
Brother-in-law,
wants to
yeah,
get
yeah.
off the field. He just wants to get his one series done and get the heck out of there.
That was
'Cause
us in Buffalo, brother.
I'm
We
trying to
had
make the team, and he's just trying to stay healthy and get off the field.
I had this conversation with the young kids. I call them kids, the young men up in Chicago this weekend.
Yeah,
And I was telling them a story. I said, all my teammates from Buffalo, all of us got about at least 10 years in. And it was because of Marv leaving. Marv, he didn't kill us in training camp, preseason games, and again, the one series, and
yeah,
we out there, brother-in-law. And we,
yeah.
hey,
Not heck. Now they don't even play.
exactly. He's like, yeah, you got me. Yeah, 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 yeah. You good, you good.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Yeah, because we were only what $1,000 a week doing training camp.
yeah.
No money. So yeah, nobody got hurt in training camp. Nobody got hurt in preseason games when I was in Buffalo, man.
Man, I tell you, well, my rookie year was the first year of the CBA, right?
Mhm.
1993. Gary
Okay,
Glanville didn't get that memo. It was 35 straight days in a row in Atlanta. It was a record heat wave. And we went pads every single day morning. It was run emphasis in the morning, pass emphasis in the afternoon. It was pads every single day. It was the worst, 5 weeks or whatever the heck it was. It's
right.
awful. And then after that, I never had another camp where you went 2 days, two practices 2 days in a row, and you never had pads 2 days in a row. It's just different time. But oh man, but that was brutal. One funny quick story about Daryl Talley, because he got there. You probably heard the story when you got to Atlanta. You know exactly what I'm going to say.
No, yeah.
So you were you came to Atlanta. What you were no 96, right?
96, yeah.
Yeah. So
There,
that was the year. That
5,
was
yeah.
the year Daryl. Or no, it was the year
No,
before.
he was there
It was
95.
95. Yeah. So Daryl
Yeah,
comes.
95,
We had a
yeah.
few Bills that matriculated to Atlanta. Daryl
Yeah,
being
Jim Richter, yeah.
Jim Richter,
Mhm.
Nate Odoms came there. I think it was the same year you were there.
Yeah.
But Daryl comes down, and they're trying to revamp the defense. And Daryl's got all the answers because, quite frankly, he probably does, because he's played with a pretty damn good defense for a lot of years,
Right.
right? And he's locker next to me in the facility, and every day I got to hear from Daryl about how these defensive coaches don't know what they're doing, and we're doing everything wrong. And Daryl has had enough by the end of the end of the season, but we're still in the playoff hunt. We have 2 games left. We got to
Ah,
win. We have to win one of the two, either away at the expansion Panthers,
right.
or we have to beat San Francisco, who's still playing for the number one seed at home in our last game. We go down and we lose to the Panthers, of all people. We lose to the expansion Panthers. Everybody in Atlanta thinks our goose is cooked, that we're done, because we got to play the number one 49ers, who were still playing for the number one seed. So we come to the stadium, last game of the year. Daryl can't wait to get out of Atlanta. Uh, June Jones calls the team together in the locker room. And he says, "Guys, we all know what's at stake here. We win, we're in. We control our own destiny." And June is always a real calm guy.
Right.
And
Yes. Too calm. Too
but
calm.
you could kind of see the blood boiling in his face. And he said, "And one more thing, whoever's got the U-Haul packed out in the players' lot, you can just get the heck out of here now." And everybody knew it was Daryl Talley. Had his truck packed up, the U-Haul ready to go, because he was heading to Florida after we lost that game. And Bobby Aber ends up coming in. Jeff George gets hurt like 3 plays before the end of the half. Funny story of that one too. But so Bobby plays just over a half, leads us to the playoff win, hits T. Mathis for a touchdown to beat the Niners. We make the playoffs, go to play Green Bay the next week. And but yeah, Daryl Talley. But the funny thing about that was Bobby had a clause in his contract that if he played more than one half, that directly led to us making the playoffs. He got a $250,000 bonus. Didn't even know it. Didn't even know it till the next morning. His wife put an envelope in the Christmas tree for him, and he came in and he told me that story. I was like, man, the rich get richer.
All right.
It's good being you, my brother.
Yeah, that
But
story,
Daryl,
man.
man, Daryl
Yeah.
was a piece of work.
So Chuck was my locker mate, next to me when I got there in '96. So Chuck, you know how Chuck and his
Chuck
story.
Smith, yeah, yeah,
What a great teammate, though. Oh my goodness. But anyway, yeah, Chuck told me that story, man, and I just couldn't believe it. Of course, I had to confirm it with Daryl, who had
oh,
gone on to Minnesota the next year, his
yeah,
last year, whatever. And
true
but
story. He
so
was
yeah,
packed and ready to go. That had to be kind of awkward going back home with his U-Haul. But
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a great one. That's one of those stories, man. You just most guys were probably thinking like Daryl, but only Daryl. But if you know Daryl,
you've had
that's
enough, man. I
that's
can
a
see,
Daryl. That's a
you know,
Daryl. That's
that's
something
not
only Daryl would
not
do.
the way to be a teammate, I guess. But I can also see his side of the deal where he'd had enough button heads with the administration, I guess, the whole year.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just one that one stuck in my mind. So all right, so one more topic, and then I'll let you go. And I
Okay.
really do appreciate your time, Cornelius. So the Hall of Fame, right? I mean, you had a heck of a career, and I see your name, as one of the guys on the preliminary list again this year, as it should be. I mean, what does that? I mean, what does that mean to you? I mean, I know you're a man of God, and all things, happen on His time. But you see guys that are in there, and in my mind, I think Biscuit. I think you're a Hall of Fame player, but that doesn't mean
Thank
everybody
you.
gets in all at the same time, right? But I guess
Right.
what does that mean to you if and when that were to happen?
So 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, I finally made semifinalists. So I thought, okay, yeah. Um, so I kind of got my hopes up a little bit, and but it took me back. It's like, man, my whole my whole football path was I tried to direct my path. Go back to my freshman year in high school. I tried to go to a high school that most of my family had attended. My big brother played football, who I admire to this day from football, and life as well. But I was living out of school zone, so I had to transfer to another high school. I got to that high school. The head coach that was there was the reason why I didn't want to go there outside of my family going to the one high school. He got fired. I got another coach who, but then I get my coach who I love to this day, who came in, put me in at a position that I didn't want to play running back, but that's how I got my notoriety to go to college. Okay, so I mean, this story is amazing. I get drafted by the Colts, go to Alabama, and I have a tremendous career after not going to Auburn because my mom said no. Me, again, trying to direct my steps, my path, but God said, no, I want you over here. So I go to Alabama, and things transpire the way they do. Bear Bryant passes away. Ray Perkins comes in, put me in a position to where I could really shine. Coach Bryant was, I don't know what would have happened. And Coach Bryant's still been alive and coaching. But Ray Perkins comes in, put me into that position. Those things transpire. I get drafted by the coach. To me, God said, no, nope, nope, that's not going to be the place for you right now. I got something better, bigger and better for you. Send me to Buffalo, and put me in a position to be around great team, great teammates, great fan base, everything. Of course, and then give me a long extended career by, hey, I'm gonna let you go back to Indianapolis and finish up there and give those people a taste of who you are and what you can do for a team, which I did when I got to Indianapolis or whatever. But um, with the Hall of Fame, to go back now to what you're questioning, my wife, she gets upset with me from time to time because I am so at peace with I did what I could do. I can't go back out and play again. I'm not gonna blow my own horn and whistle. I didn't do it when I was playing, and I'm gonna let God, if it be, I have this year and next year eligibility before I have to go on the old man list or whatever, however you want to consider that or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I just know, I know it's gonna happen. I feel it in my heart. I've always, but it's His timing, and I tell my family, when it does happen, it's going to be the best time. I don't know about, it's going to be the best. It's going to be the right time. I truly believe. I was
Control
with,
what you can control, right? I mean,
yes, yeah.
you
I was
did.
with,
You controlled what you can control, man. You played your tail off for 14 years, and at the end of the day, I mean, I'm here's a guy that, hey, I was just happy to be there, right? I mean,
Mhm,
I wasn't a guy that was by any means flirting with the HOF. So to be in
mhm.
that rare air, my point is when I look at that list of the players that, what is there, 150 players up for each year, something like that.
Yeah,
You look at that list, you're like, dang, these are all
yeah.
really, really
But
good players, right?
you
And
say that about me. What about Clay? You
oh,
know,
I,
like,
I was coming.
this
I
is
was coming
yeah,
back to that because
yeah. What
to,
about
to to
a guy
your
like
point,
Clay?
the
I mean,
the, the humility,
just from longevity.
the humility, right? That
Yeah,
you're sharing, but
yeah,
Clay is the same, right? 19
yeah. I know,
years,
right? Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
just a freak player that you could play
Mhm.
that long. And I always tell people, I
Yeah.
mean, and up until that 96 year when he cut his hair, right? When he came in and he cut his hair
Yeah.
off, and all of a sudden he had short hair. And
Right.
I mean, other than his face looked like he was 39, maybe. He was still a good-looking dude, but he looked a little, but his neck down, he looked like a 25-year-old. He locked her next to me too. And I was like, man, this dude, and he's kind of like you. He never really was injured. He had broke his ankle his
Right.
second year in the league. Other than that, he never had any major injuries, and it's just crazy. And then you look at the genealogy of that family, right? He and
Yeah.
Bruce is,
What
I
amazing.
mean, Clay probably should be. Their dad played in the NFL. Between the two of them, I think they've had what, six boys play in the NFL.
Yeah,
So
that is so crazy, man. Unbelievable. And not just again, not
not
just
just
on the
play.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were players.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Clay. I hope, and I know his daughter Jennifer. That's how I got in touch with Clay recently was through Jennifer
Mhm.
on Twitter because she's trumpeting her dad.
Yeah.
He won't.
But same with we sitting there talking about Clay. Although I never played with Mike Ken.
Oh yeah, same thing.
That's another one,
Long time.
what, 16, 17 years, I mean, geez. And again, he was a baller.
Right. Started all of them, all these
You
years.
know what I'm saying? He was a
He was there when I
baller.
first got to Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah.
played a couple years there with me
Yeah.
and or I played a couple years with him, I should say, before I retired. But
Yeah.
yeah, amazing longevity. So
Yeah.
well, I really appreciate your time today, Biscuit, and it's been a pleasure hearing your faith and your
Thank you.
perspectives, and it's awesome. So thanks for coming. This episode, as always, is brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth, your game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. And sounds like Biscuit, you're winning life, and it's good to see you, brother. And hopefully I can cross paths. Yeah, I think I might be going down here in a few weeks for I think the Atlanta Falcons are having a little Legends reunion of some sort.
I'm gonna try to make it. I made it last year because they honored the Super Bowl team last year. So I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna try to bring my 24-year-old up.
All right.
We've been to a couple of games, but I don't think we've ever been to a Falcons game together that he
Yeah.
remembers. So I'm
Well,
gonna probably
if you do, let me know, and I would love to see you there. So, because I think I might do it too. I might fly down Saturday and go to game Sunday. So, Kirk
right.
Cousins is a fellow Michigan Stater, so I'm friends with Kirk. So, a tough one last night, but that's the
Yeah, it
NFL.
was. Yeah, I
That
got
is
to
the
get home and
NFL.
watch the tail end.
All right. Well, this is the end of the show, and we look forward to good best of luck in the Hall of Fame deal. And like you said,
Thank
it'll
you.
happen in God's time, but we'll be rejoicing when it does, my friend.
Amen.
All
Amen.
right.
Thank you for having me, my
Until
brother.
next time.
All right.